Awesome. So I've just popped that one on there. Amazing. Throughout this session today, if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute and take yourself off the camera if you want. But for most of the session, please keep the camera and mute on. And then I'm monitoring the chat function. So if you do have any questions and chat's your preference in asking questions, please make sure you do so. But we might just wait one more minute to see if anybody else is going to join. All right. Hi, Sydney. Thanks for joining us today. All right, we might get started. If anybody joins, this session is being recorded, so we can always send what they've missed after. Well, welcome and thank you everybody for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us today for How to Convert Business Events. My name is Gabrielle Deacon. I've been running a series of workshops with Tourism Top End on business events. And we're really fortunate to have Natalie Bell, the Managing Director from AA&P Events and PR, join us today to really hone in on how to convert business events. If you are just joining us throughout the session today, as mentioned, if you do have any questions, please feel free to take yourself off mute and ask those questions or pop it through the chat. I am monitoring that chat function. So for today, we are just going to go through a bit of a recap. So for those who've joined me on these sessions before, this might sound a little bit familiar about what business events is. And then we're going to hand over to Nat and she's going to go through how to respond to requests, professionalism and expectations, and pre and post touring. So we might as well kick right on in. What is business events? So I'm not going to go out and read all of this, but we can definitely share this information after the workshop today. To put it simply, a business event is coming together for a vocational purpose. So we put this slide there because we really want to make sure the industry knows there's a clear definition between coming together for a convention, a conference, a meeting, etc., compared to a celebration. So when we're talking business events, we're not talking weddings, anniversaries, birthdays. We're talking about coming together for a business purpose. Why would people travel to the Northern Territory for a business event? So the benefits for business events. For us, it's brilliant because it attracts the high-spending traveller. It introduces visitors that may not have had the Territory high on their bucket list, as they may come for some pre or post touring and they'll choose to come back again with friends or family. Also, business events really helps us to build and attract key trade investment. So what this may look like is, for example, we might get a medical conference that comes to the Territory, and this medical conference, you might have one or two delegates that come along, see the Territory as a viable destination to set up their business down the track. So business events is a really wonderful way from the Territory's perspective to build that business. But for your perspective, the reason why you would want to get into business events is because we estimated that in 2024, 2025, the delegate expenditure was over $100 million. So for you guys joining us online, this is a really great way for you to diversify your markets and ideally take a piece of that pie going into the business events industry. Previously, we had a look at the scope of business events. We do like to think that business events will come to the Territory all year long, but there's no point in beating around the bush. The reality is the business events season is from April to October, and it makes sense. It aligns with our peak seasons coming to the Territory. And often from the space of those who organise business events, We don't get to dictate when someone would want to come. And of course, it is the most attractive time to come throughout peak season. Um, and one of the great things about business events is they tend to be a high yielding travel um, expenditure for a shorter period of time. So we see those business events coming in from 3 to 4 days. Who are we attracting? So, who creates the business events community? Of course, business events does not exist unless we have you guys who are joining us online, our industry suppliers. So, without our venues, our tour experiences, transport, accommodation, the services, we don't have any offerings to service business events. Then we work really close with decision makers, which Nat's going to go into a little bit later on. Um, and who these decision makers are, we have some based locally, such as AA&P Events, and we work with the decision makers on a national and global level. And when I'm talking about we, who goes out and markets the Northern Territory, we're very lucky from the industry suppliers to have a government body such as Northern Territory Business Events that go out and market the Northern Territory to the world. Most other states and territories have a convention bureau or some kind of bureau where it's a membership body that goes out and represents. We're really fortunate that we've got a government that supports us, that we don't have to have a buy-in that goes out to market the destination to bring business events to the territory. And I'm going to touch on that in 2 more seconds as to why that's really important. So, how the government goes out and pitches us to the world is they take our 3 top unique selling points, showcasing that we've got enriching Aboriginal culture, iconic landscapes, and nature based experiences. So, of course, we know, being Territorians, that we've got a million other things that will attract business events to this destination. But these are the top 3 things that they'll really spruik when they go into destination. And when I'm talking about going into destinations to spruik the territory, our team at NT Business Events, they will go to trade shows such as AIM, which is held in Melbourne every February. They will go over to trade shows in Frankfurt. They'll go over to trade shows in America and really try and attract those international business events to come to the territory. So they do that marketing on that large scale, and that's what they put forward. Also, what they put forward is how good we are as a destination coming together, delivering a desirable destination with our 3 unique selling points. The quality programs, so a quality program, which Nat is really going to go into, is really key in helping us convert business events and having this ability to extend. So the ability to extend is that pre and post touring. This is what is really attractive to a lot of business events, because for those who haven't had the territory on the radar, this means they may be able to bring their family up either before or after the event that they're traveling for and be able to see the destination. And this is really appealing for a decision maker, because when we're working with decision makers, um, they look at what's going to convert each and every person that's going to come to that event. And the ability to spend more time in that destination is what's really key to help that conversion. More conversions for a decision maker means they get hired by their clients more and more, and they'll go to those repeat destinations where they see that conversion. So this is really, really key. And we work really close with NT Business Events at Tourism Top End. We work really close with AA&P to ensure we can put out that pre and post touring to help get that ability to extend and get that conversion coming through. And another really integral thing that the Northern Territory government does in order to help us stay competitive amongst our other destinations is we have something called the bid fund. So this is why we need that clear distinguishing between what's a celebration and what's a business event. Because the Northern Territory has the capacity to put forward, as an example, $100 per delegate to help the destination when we're in competition with another destination to get us over the line. So To convert for the bid fund, essentially what we need to do is a bid fund needs to, an EOI needs to go through with the Northern Territory government. We need to be in competition with another destination. And this event must have taken place at least once before and been a successful event. These key things keep us competitive, and we're really lucky once again to have Northern Territory business events here to help us convert getting those business events across the line. So, really important for you guys online because you might have someone from a conference that's come direct that is still sitting on the fence, and finance might be the reason why we haven't converted yet. So, going to the Northern Territory business events team, having a chat to them about the bid fund or directing that decision maker to go towards the bid fund may be the key way to help get that business over the line so you essentially convert that business event coming to you. So that's a really quick, fast, and hopefully great recap on what business events is. I run a fair few programs on doing deep dives into what business events is, but if you do have any questions, please chuck it through the chat now or reach out to us. Take yourself off mute if you do have any questions. And if you do want to have a bit more of a deep dive, please connect with me. I'll share my details at the end of the workshop today. If you do want to do a bit more of a deep dive into your a tailored business event strategy. But if we don't have any questions coming through from that quick recap, I'm going to hand over to Nat Bell, who's going to go through all the nitty-gritty stuff about how we can convert business events. So over to you, Nat.
Thank you.
And I'll keep monitoring the chat.
Hello, everyone. It feels a bit strange talking to a TV and not being able to see all of your faces. I recognise a few names on the page. So like Gab said, she is monitoring the chat. Please put your hand up so that you don't have to listen to me for the next 40 minutes without interruption. It won't be 40 minutes. But as Gab said, so we are a PCO, and I'll run through what we do and who we are and the types of things we're looking for. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who has joined online today, because I think the commitment to a really strong industry, business events industry, is only going to be as strong as our suppliers that we can work with and rely on. For us, it's always a journey. We love to work with suppliers more than once, because then we know how you operate, you know how we operate. And for us, we're here for the long haul, and we want to build long-term relationships and do things better each time. So I guess, what we're looking at here is how we go from a supplier to a partner in that business events landscape, and how the industry can work best with PCOs. So a bit about us, for those that don't know us. So we're AA&P Events and PR. We're North Australia's largest business events and communications agency, and we've been in business for over 26 years this year. We have an integrated in-house team where our head office is in Darwin, with majority of our team here. However, we do have a global network. So we have staff members in Adelaide, the Gold Coast, and in the UK. So we also have our core team, and then a big branch of subcontractors that are in every state and territory, and they're always on the lookout to bring business events into the north. So we work with a variety of clients, so governments, industries, Indigenous organisations, and the corporate sector. And we do events in urban, regional, and rural settings. Hence, it's really important to have a really large network of diverse suppliers. So what we do in the business event space, and Gab's touched on it, so we don't do weddings, we don't do birthday parties, we don't do large events that don't have a corporate intent or a professional outcome. So we're what's called a PCO or a DMC, which is a professional conference organizer and a destination management company. And we manage experiences from end to end. Generally, we'll be the conduit between a client or a decision maker and the local industry. For the most part, our suppliers won't talk to, meet, or even connect with our clients until you meet them in Darwin. So that's why it's so important that we understand each other and that we work together really well and really fluidly, so that there's no gaps, and also that we can put our best foot forward when it comes to representing you and the territory and the industry. As mentioned, we worked across business events, and it's probably the diversity of business events that are most interesting. So, it's conferences, it's incentives, it's corporate meetings, it's for mills, association conventions. But then there's also, lots of little niche things off the side of that too. Like there might be a trade delegation, or there might be there might be a product launch, or there might be a special media event. And each of these smaller business events still requires engagement and interaction with different suppliers. So don't limit yourself to thinking it's just conferences, because actually the business event side is what feeds into an event experience really being different. We operate at a national level. As mentioned, we deliver events and conferences across Australia and internationally now as well. But what it means is that the territory competes in a global marketplace. We do when we pitch for a piece of work or a bid. We're rarely actually competing against someone in Darwin. We're competing generally against someone in Sydney or out of Melbourne. And what that means is that when we compete in a global marketplace, so do you. In terms of what a PCO does, as I mentioned before, we're the single point of accountability, and we're looking after the whole ecosystem of events, and I'll go into that in the next slide. I guess the big thing to note with us is that we're trying to manage so many different pieces on the puzzle. Like no piece on the chessboard moves unless we know it's moving or unless we've orchestrated that movement. So we're very rarely just managing one aspect of a business event. It'll be rare that we're managing a conference and not the social program. We wouldn't manage the conference without managing the registrations. We wouldn't manage the dinner without probably managing the activations or the media event stuff too. So we're doing everything when it comes to delivering an event experience, and we're working with clients or NTBE or tourism top end at the bid phase. And so that's probably what's important to note, is that the information that we need from you at a bid phase is quite different to the information that we need from you once an event is confirmed. And you should always ask us, and if we don't tell you, usually we would. If we don't, it's just an oversight and it's not a secret. Is the event confirmed? When it's confirmed, when is it confirmed for, and how many people? Because then you can structure whatever information you give to us based on certainty. When it's in the bid phase, it's more like, what are the opportunities to us? The client's considering maybe August, maybe September. The client's looking at maybe 300 to 500, depending on what's available in accommodation. So it's just that flexibility of information. Sometimes it's really rigid. Sometimes it's up to you guys to put your best foot forward. And often suppliers will suggest something when you're like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's awesome. Yep. And that could be the difference in a bid phase from a client choosing August to September. Business events generally have a longer lead time. So, we're looking at generally like 1-2 years out. In the bid phase, we could be working 3 to 5 years out. But the quoting windows are tight and competitive. So generally, if we need a quote, even in the bid phase, we're usually needing it pretty quickly. Like I wouldn't say that we would work on a bid for more than 2 weeks. Generally, it's pretty tight. Some of the terms you'll hear, because I'll mention later on, don't use acronyms in your quotes because they're confusing. PCO is just professional conference organizer. DMC is destination management company. RFQ or RFT, they're interchangeable. Request for quote, request for tender. If it's a request for tender, usually there'll be a lot more compliance associated with it, but we would manage that anyway. And end of day, end of week, they're in there too. So in the same sense where I say please don't use acronyms, same as you guys. If we use an acronym and it makes no sense, call us out on it. The business events ecosystem is super important, and it's understanding that we all operate in it, where our working with you guys are one piece of a much larger interconnected program. It's like a domino effect. One delay, one miscommunication, one no without an alternative can actually change the whole way that a program is structured or delivered. It's hard, but budgets are often locked before suppliers are engaged. So, no one expects you to do anything for free or less than you can profitably or, operationally. But it's much better for you to say to us, we can't do this at that price because it's going to compromise quality. Or say to us, we can't do the full thing at that price, but what we can do is X, Y, Z. So it's rare, if ever, that a PCO will set a budget. It generally comes from the client, and we just have to make things work. The government and tourism top end, they speak really strongly about Team NT. It's not a throwaway line. One thing that you would all see when you go interstate to any of these types of tourism promotional events is, the industry and the broader community really does see the territory as a team. They know that we work well together. We are a small, really tightly connected community, so we know that, you know, business events, like Gab said, it's a much higher spending market. You know, when the territory get business events, the whole tourism ecosystem wins, because we're looking at you know, people in the coffee shops, people in the mall. We're bringing, you know, for us, like we're working with groups of 300 to 2,000. So, you know, you only need to look at NT Cattlemen's, and that's only an NT event. You know, you see the Akubras walking down the mall, you see past Pally Pearls to the, you know, with a constant stream of people in and out.
Monsoons goes up at that stage too.
Monsoons,
everybody gets a piece of the pie.
So, you know, when we're talking about business events, we're not talking about one or two people walking through your door. We're talking a group, a coordinated group that's seeking a type of experience. And those people are going to be able to then talk about your experience, your interaction to their family, to their friends. You know, that business events are such a big advocacy platform for the territory tourism market. So, yeah, I think it's a really cool opportunity, and that's why it's great to see so many of you online from such different diverse business offerings, because you guys are what makes or breaks the territory in terms of an experience. What we need from you in terms of a PCO is, you know, we need you to consider the brief beyond your own product. Ask us questions. Ask us what else is happening in the program. You know, proactively share what you know and provide recommendations about you, about people you work with. Don't assume we know. You know, I've got a pretty big team, and like I said, I bring people in and out all the time, and you know, they might have niche industry expert, but we're always wanting to hear if you've got a new product. You know, we always want to know if you've done something differently, if you've moved from sunrise to sunset because there's, I don't know, less mosquitoes or less humidity or the birds or whatever it is. You know, you tell us what works for you, and we're always going to we're always going to try to recommend that we capture your product or experience in the best way that works for your product or experience. You know, we try not retrofit things. We need flexibility in your quoting and your delivery, but most importantly, we need a partnership mindset. Like I said, we don't want to operate transactionally, and we don't want you to either. So the key impact areas, I think, you know, these are sort of the top groups or the top points where I think we can work really well together, where you can make some easy changes or look at some easy sort of tweaks, and it'll deliver the most impact in terms of your business events engagement. So we'll go through these today. So number one, and there's a heap of information in these slides, because I thought, you know, if you want to go back to it and check from it, you know, you don't need to take a heap of notes, and it's just an easy checklist for you. So I'll talk to some, but not all, and I've tried to give some examples as well. Speed and quality of response, I can't stress this one enough. You know, we need our industry to come back to us quickly, even just letting us know that you've received our email and when you'll come back to us, because then we're not, you know, chasing you or thinking you're not interested or not knowing if you've not received it. I'll be totally honest with you. If you don't respond to us quickly and easily in that first engagement, particularly if we haven't worked with you before, we won't persevere. We've got other options. We've got other, you know, we'll change the program, because if we're scared that we have to chase you for feedback from day one, then I'm scared that you might not be there when we need you to if things get harder. We need confidence in that delivery and execution. When you respond quickly, when you check in, you know, and it is a small industry. Like I know quite a few of you online as well. Like if I send you a quote and you're out of office and you get it and you send me a text like, "Hey Nat, got your quote. I'll get something to you on the weekend. I'm on charter this week." I'm like, "Yeah, cool, no stress," because I know that even if my quote's due Monday, you've texted me, I'll have it by Saturday, Sunday. I'm not stressed about that. So it's just about, you know, building that trust in each other, and that comes from responsiveness. Be really clear in your pricing and be transparent. Don't add things to the end. I'll talk about that later. But, you know, these sort of on-the-day costs or additional things that we don't expect or the client don't expect, the only money I have to pay you is the budget that the client has approved. If there are costs and charges outside of that budget, I can't guarantee payment of those things. So, but the good thing is, if you provide those costs early in advance, you say, "Hey, there might be extra costs for, you know, whatever it is. Like if you want dessert added, or if you want bottled water, not bubbler water, if you want an enhanced Wi-Fi package, that's fine." What's not fine is if it's $1,000 charge on the day and we haven't been told. So
I think it's really important just to remember here that, you know, Nat knows quite a few of you, and we're such an insular destination. But she's also speaking on the bigger part from other PCOs and other decision makers that are coming through that you may not have that relationship with. And these are the big things that will really help them decide whether or not they're going to go with you. So, and we're lucky that we have this, but outside of that, there's going to be, you may not have their number to message them and say, hey. So it's just keeping those processes in mind when you are working in this space.
Thank you. And look, and on that too, if you're in sales and you don't have a mobile number on the bottom of your email, I would question your commitment to your role in sales.
That's a great point. I've never heard anybody say that, and it's true. It's so true.
Because we don't always have the luxury, and many of you are working in family-owned businesses. I'm in a family-owned business. It's hard. Like no matter what anybody says, there's rarely a Sunday night I'm not working on a quote, or and if you have one thing you want to add, the ability for me to be able to call someone and say, hey, I'm just checking, on your quote, you said X. I was thinking I'd also like to offer them an opportunity to spend an extra day with you. Is that okay? The ability for me to call you, and it's not about being obtrusive with that, but it is, we're operating in a high pressure environment, high stakes. And, I'm not competing against another PCO. Generally, when I'm bidding for stuff, I'm competing against Singapore or Monaco, or, I'm competing against losing the whole project for the territory. So I take that role really seriously as a PCO, and other PCOs will be the same too. Some things what works really well for us, like I said, that quick response, tailored proposals that specifically address the brief, not a generic pack. Again, if you send me a generic pack that hasn't answered my questions, I assume that you don't really need the business, or that you haven't read the proposal, and that's probably going to be the same care that's being given. In saying that, if you're also super busy, sometimes we miss things, we all get busy, say that in there. Say, hey, I've addressed this as best I can. If I've missed anything, please let me know. I'm running a tour today, and I've only had limited time in front of the computer. I said, it's just that transparency, and then we can have your back and be like, oh, hey, actually you missed a morning component to this, but you've given us a complete package price. So, we don't want you not having a good experience either. Proactive flagging of challenges, the tides don't work. If you don't have the seasonality that allows for you to deliver an experience, just tell us. If it's, let us know what works for you. Have high-res images that we can drop straight into client proposals, and editable content as well, because what that saves is time down the line. Like we will ask you for pictures and descriptions and things possibly at the bid phase, but then we also need pictures, descriptions when we build event websites, when we build itineraries. And if we have good quality images and good quality descriptions from you, well, I'm much more likely to use the person's photo of their experience, product or service when it's a high-res photo that I have already, and I'll drop it into the event website or the program itinerary. I'm not going to chase someone for a low-res image so that I can feature them in my limited 6 photos that I have to show, whatever it is that we're doing for that event. What kills a quote? Partial back and forths. Like, again, that goes into if we have to chase information, just says to me, and other PCOs will be the same as well. And like for us, I work on a relationship basis here. Other PCOs that come to the territory, they're not working on a relationship. They're working on efficiency, they're working on speed, and they're working on, who gives them the information they need. Make sure you've got the key details right. Don't ignore them. Don't send a rinse and repeat quote. Nothing breaks your heart like getting a quote for an event and the supplier's mentioned either a competing audience or a competing PCO. That's a bit like, technical jargon and acronyms. If you have stuff that's specific to your industry, make sure you give us a description. Don't leave us guessing around, does that morning experience include morning tea, or do we have to bring our own? Because that's the Sunday question I might need to ask someone. Net pricing is confusing. If you offer a commission, say that up front, include it in your proposal. Is your costing inclusive of GST or ex-GST? On a big piece of work, inclusive or exclusive of GST, that's an expensive mistake, and everyone in this room has probably done it before. I know I have. And complex T's and C's. So, yeah.
It's a wealth of information there. Honestly, Especially, I know we've got people in all parts of their business events journey online, and especially for those who are starting out, and which I know quite a few of you are dipping your toes in the water there. Um, to have this as an ability to look back on as you're setting yourself up, especially if you're setting yourself up to be able to pitch for an RFQ, then this is a request for proposal, RFP, request for proposal, sorry.
I forgot the P. There you go.
Yeah,
RFP, RFQ, RFP.
and this is why we suggest try to steer clear of the acronyms, even though we're going to probably say some more ourselves. Cool.
So again, into that proactive communication. I was just checking I didn't put that same title twice. Sorry, team. Proactive communication. Don't make us chase you. Send us updates and check in before we follow up. Business events does have that long lead time. We might have a quote confirmed in January. The event might not be till September. Feel free to reach out March, April, May. Like, hey guys, just checking any updates, what's happening. Because you're probably on our list, but we haven't gotten back to you. or reach out. Shows us that you're keen and that you care. Don't leave emails unanswered. Sometimes we'll just send you an update out of a courtesy or because we've finally got the information confirmed. We don't even need you. We don't need a war and peace response, but even just noted, received, that stuff's, it's a good confidence builder for us, and it says that you've got that info. Like I said, there is a longer lead time with business events, so stuff changes. You guys might have constructions going on. You might have menu updates or a new chef. You might have a new room being added, a change of staffing. Like, none of this stuff's insurmountable, but it is a problem. Like if we get there to host a small private breakfast event and you're building a room next door and we can't even hear the speakers, then, that's an issue. Or, I put some of them in the examples there. Remind us of key dates and deliverables. If you need minimum numbers to you 14 days out, send us a message or send us an email, a month out and say, hey guys, just a reminder, this was due in the middle of the month. We're like, oh, thank you so much for the reminder. We should have it marked, but we're only human too. We get flat out and, we don't want to miss dates that are important to you for your ordering, staffing, scheduling. A few things that are great is, you flagging with us, you've made a small change, but, you recommend this alternative. 9 times out of 10, the client will be like, yeah, no worries, we know about that. Having a toolbox meeting the day before, particularly on more complex things, or a handover call the day before the event, that gives a bit of confidence too, just to check, has anything changed? Are the times still running? Is it still 13 in the group, or have you got more? Do we need to account for staff? Any of those sorts of details are really good. Make sure your team on the day is fully briefed. Sometimes we deal with a sales team, then we move to the ops team, and then we move to the person on the day. And not always is that poor person on the day got all the information they need, and that causes friction. It's not fair on them. It's not fair on us. It's not fair on the client. Share the mobile numbers for on the day contacts before the event as well. You'll see I'm a real bugbear for mobile numbers. So if you don't want to give out your personal one, fine, no stress, get an E1. Just, we are in the business of relationships and communication. And if someone gives me an 1800 number, that makes me worry. The budget reality, like I said, we work strictly within a client approved budget. I don't have any guarantee that if you charge me something post-event that we can get that paid. That's a friction point for you. It's a friction point for us, and it's, a friction point for the client as well. So let us know of any upfront charges. Are there going to be extra security fees if we want to get there early? Do we have to disable fire alarms? Do we need whatever it might be? Like I said, the bottled water example, people might not want to drink out of bubblers. Like, think about the group too. Like, we had a nurses group here last year, an international event, and they had to have all individual boxed meals, and that's like a byproduct of COVID, and you wouldn't have thought that was an issue, but actually it was a huge, like, even trying to find caterers to work with us to get individual boxes for a group of 500 was pretty tough, so and so I just included a few examples here, like real example of what goes wrong and what could be avoided, and I just want to give some context to it. Like, I know it doesn't seem like a Wi-Fi or internet connection is a problem, but if you're dealing with an international audience who either might not have global roaming or with a part of an association, not a corporate, so they're really conscious about their Wi-Fi, we they might also have all of their information that they access through a conference app on their phone. There's a big shift away from a lot of printing now. So that conference app will not only provide them the program, the where they need to go. We have notifications set up for delegates in different streams. So we provide them notifications about where to go, where to meet, what to do, what time. If they don't have Wi-Fi, or they don't have a Wi-Fi package the venue or tour doesn't have Wi-Fi enough for, say, 300 people and it crashes the system, then we're in a real problem because the delegates can't access the information. We can't send safety notifications or updates to them. If the bus is running half an hour late, I can't just, I'll have 300 people waiting in the sun by the side of the road. Like, it's actually the flow and effects are not just they can't check Facebook or check an email. It's actually much broader, and it can come into a safety issue as well. Like I said, not having the key contact there on the day is a surprise. It's a terrible start, and it makes us look disorganized. And it's a heap of pressure on that person too. And if you've ever been that person, heart goes out to you, because it's a real tough spot to try to fix a problem or create ideas for something you have no awareness of. The new product or experience is a big thing too. Like I said, in those lead times, you guys are always looking for ways to improve, and sometimes you'll bring something new on, like a new tour or a new breakfast option or a wellness activity, and then the client gets there and they're like, "Oh, Natalie, why didn't you tell us that they do yoga at sunrise on the lawns? Our guests would have loved to do that." And you're like, "Oh, I didn't know they did yoga at sunrise on the lawns, or that you'd be interested in that. I'm really sorry." And that might be a really little easy win for you guys in terms of, like, it's an extra revenue source, it's a way for people to engage, like whatever it might be. And it actually just comes down to FOMO, and the client's like, "Oh, well, you mustn't know your industry or your suppliers or your town very well." And you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And yeah, undisclosed costs, surface post event. Again, I mentioned this a few times. I know that it's really hard to anticipate all costs, but just flag them. Particularly if you have seen contingencies needed in the past, flag them, because then we just put in a 10% in the budget, and the client's like, "Oh yeah, that's there for that." So like I said, if costs come up after we've paid you our final invoice, which we often do prior to the group coming, well, I don't have any more money than what they've given me. So
I think this is also a really good point because I'm sure there's quite a few people online who are like, "Oh, but how outside of a PCO do I convert?" The reality is, the majority of the time for business events, you're working with a decision maker. All these points that Nat are bringing up are so integral. And even if you are working with somebody, say you are just on this call today to find out how you can help convert even from a local perspective, maybe it's just someone who wants to run a corporate experience at your establishment. These things are still so integral when you're working one-on-one with that event organizer. So even though we're talking about it from the broader perspective of a PCO, and you may want to do it on a smaller scale, everything Nat is mentioning is what will help you get this across the line. These are all huge points. And I will just quickly mention here as well, we have run workshops in the past about marketing for business events. So if you do want more information on that side, we can send you that recap of that workshop that we've done previously as well. But this is the real nitty-gritty stuff that will help your business secure that business events when you're in this phase. Cool. This is a really good segue into my favorite part.
And on that, like, business events are not just large PCO stuff. Like I said, for the most part, my supplier network will not meet. My client gives me the delegation to collect the information, present a case, put it forward to them. They review, they ask questions, they make a decision, and then I will come back to you with that. Like, we are the funnel to the decision makers. And that's why we try to do that intermediary work. But there's a huge business events market locally too. You only need to look at how many associations there are, like business associations. There's a Chamber of Commerce, NT, Tourism Top End, there's Engineers Australia, there's whatever. There's an association for every profession. Each of those run small forums, breakfast, lunches, roundtables, whatever. Like there are so many types of different business events that I think, our tourism industry could lean into more, and whether that's looking at speaker gifts, whether that's looking at presenting, offering wellness activities to business association members, whether that's being a guest speaker to talk about what you do or how you sell the territory if it aligns to that industry. A business events is cool because it's only limited by your imagination and your professionalism. So on that, big thing about business events is expectation management. We will shine a spotlight on everybody. You make us look good, we make you look good. So we have to have a real guarantee that whatever we pitch to someone and whatever we sell, we sell the dream, we deliver the dream. There's never any gap between that. The process needs to be smooth from sales, operations to delivery, and the whole supply chain needs to understand what that looks like. Presentations, it's the little things that matter. Staff in uniforms, staff with name badges. If you've got language badges as well, ask us what percentage of your group speaks a different language. And if you have 2 team members that you rotate between on that day, and one of them is Filipino and, speaks 1 or 2 different languages, and that language group matches our group, you'd be mad not to put them on, because that's just like, it's just tiny things like that. Make sure your team knows a little bit about the group. Like, you don't want 300 people walking in and someone at reception going, "Oh, where are you guys from?" Because then it's like, it's a tiny details where it's like, "Oh, I'm so excited." The difference is, I'm so excited you guys are here. I heard you've traveled all the way from the Netherlands. How have you found, XYZ, whatever? Or, "Oh, my mum's from the Netherlands." Like, connectivity and connection is super important. Cleanliness and presentation, this is a big one for me. And it's little things, like you walk in a door and the first thing you see is 400 like handprints on a glass window. Like, it stresses me out. I tell my staff off all the time. I'm like, what is wrong with you? Why does no one use a door handle in this place? But make sure your toilets are clean. Make sure there's toilet paper in there. Make sure there's hand towels. Make sure there's soap. What experience are they doing? Like, if you're going to an outdoor experience and people need to sit down, like, warn them if they're going to burn their bum on a steel bench. Like, have a think about, just those tiny things. And sticky menus and sticky surfaces really bother me too. You don't want to feel like you're walking into monsoons at 8 a.m. the next day, where everything you touch has like a tackiness to it. And it's hard. We live in humidity. Like, stuff gets sticky, stuff gets moldy, but it's our job to be, across that. I've touched on what great looks like, a few examples, and this is stuff that we have all the time. The venue isn't ready to receive the group, the room's not ready, the table's not set. There's a 15-minute delay for us to get the group in and eat lunch. 15 minutes of the time doesn't seem like a big deal, but 15 minutes late there can be a missed sunset or a missed tide. You got a boat cruise, the tide waits for heaven or no man. So 15 minutes, like, the domino effect that has for the rest of the day is actually huge. There might be a change to the client request that they want the room layout as theatre, but they get there and it's cabaret, and the ops team says, "Oh, well, no one told us that there was a change." And it's like, okay, well, I don't want to dig out an email that I sent last week to prove the point that I sent the request, because at the end of the day, it doesn't solve the problem that we now have to find something to do. And it's not a big problem to change your room for 20 people. It's a massive problem to change your room for 300. Dietary requirements are not submitted or not available on the day, but we're in a remote location. That's happened to us. You pick up 200 meals and they're all in their styrofoam boxes, and then you load them on there, and then you get out there and there's no vegetarian meals, no gluten-free, no whatever the weird, wild and wonderful requests are that people have around dietaries. That's a problem. Like, I physically cannot solve that problem outside of asking other people to give up their muesli bars, and even then that doesn't help the gluten-free people. So it's a big effect. This is another one as well. Like, a bus driver or a tour guide has to do another lap or an additional drop off and is noticeably grumpy. That can really have that really upsets the whole group. We always do our best. We try to respect everyone's timelines, but whoever is going to be the client facing person on the day, we just need you to be flexible. And if you're cross, please don't be cross with us, but if you have to be cross with someone, pick us and don't do it in front of the group, because, we all want to get home and kick our shoes off and have a glass of wine. Problem solving and understanding our pressures. Like I said, we're managing the entire experience. We're going from conference to tours to social functions. We've got pressure coming from the client, the delegates, the sponsors, the speakers, and the board. We're sort of feeling it from all ends, and we try to funnel that out into useful requests and into emotionally appropriate responses, as I'd like to say. We've got really tight and changeable deadlines. The suppliers that are like, yeah, no problem, I can make that work, or oh, that's a problem, but I will have a solution. You're like, thank you so much. And even those suppliers are like, I'll come back to you. You're just like, oh, Max, thank you so much. And that's who we go back to the team. I'm like, oh, I work with so and so. We had an absolute balls up, wasn't their fault. They absolutely pulled us out of that problem. They're the people that we'll call again. Um, we're looking for solutions, not roadblocks, creative alternatives when the first option isn't possible. If we ask for something that's off the Richter or not possible, just tell us, but give us an option. Don't just say, nah, it's not possible, or no, that's a terrible idea. We'll have terrible ideas sometimes. They're not always our terrible ideas, but we still have to ask them. So, come back to us, tell us what we should do differently and how to do it differently. If you can't meet a budget, give us some tiered options. We're always happy to take something back. We always want to take something back. We don't want to take nothing back. Ownership when things go wrong. We'll be the first to admit when we make a mistake, and we just want to work with people that are the same. Please don't disappear from the conversation if things go wrong. We'll have your back, and we just need you to have ours, and we need you to work with us to a solution. If you can't do something, don't say a flat no, offer an alternative. Don't underestimate the urgency in quoting confirmations. Ask us how long you have to quote. We'll tell you straight away because it's as long as we have to quote. Don't assume we know. Like I said, if we find out something third hand around something that you do, and we're like, oh, I didn't know you guys did that. And it's like, oh, we didn't ask for that, so we didn't include it. But it's sort of self-limiting. So always use it as an opportunity to upsell. Do the McDonald's thing, like the would you like fries with that? Because half the time, you make it easy for us to buy 4 products or 4 services from you. You beauty. That's 4 people I don't have to deal with. I can just deal with you. That's amazing. A couple of examples. A client wants to do a happy hour from 4 till 6, but your standard is 5 till 7. Like, is this a licensing issue? Do we have enough time to change it? Is there a middle ground? It's a conversation that keeps us on our radar. Another example is let us know what's specific to your venue or product. Like if you say to us, oh, look, I know you'll be coaching everyone in or busing everyone in. We actually use 3 smaller buses because the big coach can't get in under the massive rain tree that's here. And so therefore you have to park outside and your delegates have to walk in. Not a big deal, right? Is a big deal if it's raining, is a big deal if they're elderly, is a big deal if I'm on a real tight schedule. That one piece of information has also then just referred an opportunity for us to think outside the square about using, okay, well, is there a smaller bus? Who do you use? And they work well with you? Yeah, wicked. Okay, I'll work with them. That's awesome. Like we're in the business of efficient outcomes. So pre and post touring, this is a massive opportunity for the tourism sector that I don't think is utilised well enough. And that's an opportunity for really well thought out options that suit the delegate interests. Like I said, we'll have generally pretty good information about the group, so we can hand that to you. And you guys are creative and you're excellent at what you do, so I don't need to tell you that. But thinking of alignment to the program, thinking of things that group can do and will enjoy. Accessibility as well, not in terms of just like physical accessibility, but if it's a conference in Darwin and they have half a morning off, there's no point giving me an option for a full day tour out at Kakadu. But if there's you could include that though. Like if we connect with you for a 4-hour tour or 2-hour tour or an animal interaction or a walk along East Point because you specialize in sand mites or whatever, and it's a scientific conference and they like bugs, that's still an opportunity for you to be able to say to them, oh, if you ever bring your family back, actually we do an eco tour out the back of Kakadu, you'll need 3 days to do it. It's phenomenal. So you need to think of business events as like your hook into future opportunities and future travel. And so I've got some common challenges in there, but you guys can have a read through those anyway. It's fairly similar to, a lot of the other challenges that we have. But what great looks like from a pre and post touring is early offers and package ideas. Like we can't build something into a program 3 days out or a week out or even a month out. If we're quoting from you and we're getting things from you early in the start, you could say to us, hey, what does your program look like? We, at that time of year, we also run this incredible event. We only do it 3 days a year because that's when the tide allows. You should if it's possible, could the client move that conference from Monday to Thursday to Tuesday to Friday, and that way, you can include us. Stuff like that is flexible, but once things are set, they're set. So yeah, like I said, and think about what you offer. Is it possible? Can you do it in the location? Yeah, how does it work for the group? So yeah, like I've said, 2 or 3 pre-built touring formats, so 2-hour, half day, full day. And if you do get an opportunity to have an interaction with the business events audience, use it as a marketing opportunity. Have your flyers, have your QR codes, talk about your other products. You've got a captive audience, they're yours, you may as well sell to them. If you sell unique territory products that make a good delegate or speaker gift, let me know. And we also do, pillow gifts as well, or other special gifts. So it might be that you have something super cute and iconic that's related to whatever it is that you do, or you might have, like, I don't know, the Kakadu blue stuff's really popular.
Yeah, it's really popular.
And it comes in a small size, so we can include that as a gift. You might have a sun cream that you do, or a magical fish oil, or whatever it is that you do, and it's travel sized. We're always looking for unique things because we don't want to give our speakers a bottle of wine. We want to give them locally made chocolate, or dates sourced from Alice Springs, or a Barraskin bookmark, or like whatever. I'm making stuff up now, but like, be quirky, be different, because they're really, that's what the territory is known for, and it's what our clients love. So if you work really well with a specific caterer or any supplier, recommend them to us. Like, if someone does a great job for you and they know your venue, so they have to cook at your venue or prepare or use your fridges, like, remove friction points for us. Like, it's rare that we'll say, sorry, no, we're locked into so-and-so. Actually, we'd love to know who works with you, who's going to guarantee the outcome, who's going to make you look good, us look good. Beautiful. And if you need more information, ask. Like, it's a relationship-based thing. We'll give you as much information as we know. We don't hide anything. It's not in our interest. So yeah, you let us know what you need to make your information as suitable as possible. So the last thing is our partnership and what makes us come back. Like I said, we're a local company with a big network. We are super passionate about the territory. If we could bring every business event here, we would. So we want to work with people that have the same partnership mindset as us. We need to trust you. We need to know that you'll do what you say and that you can solve the problems. You communicate well. We're not chasing you, and it's not an ego thing. It's just we don't have time. Like, sometimes we're putting together bids, we're delivering events, where it's such a time-sensitive environment, and the business events environment globally is so big and so competitive that if we're not quick off the mark, they'll choose someone else. We want to work with partners where the details matter, because obviously, like they say, the devil's in the detail, and it really is. That's when things come undone. Lean into the Team NT stuff. Like Gab says, business events I'll fix that spelling error before this goes out, have a huge influence on return retail tourism. A lot of people that come to the territory out of business events have never been to the territory and would have never come here unless they had a business event reason to do so, or their company had paid for them. And it's so rare that you find someone that hasn't been to the territory before come for a business event and they don't say, oh my God, I never realised Darwin was like this. I never realised Alice Springs was like this. I'm bringing my family back here. Like, it's just, the destination and the people here and the suppliers here sell themselves. And business events are just such a powerful conversion tool. And I suppose a really important messaging for this is that we don't always we don't always choose suppliers that are cheapest. We need value for money, and that's the economic environment that all our clients expect. But it's rarely the cheapest. It's probably the last thing that I would look for in a quote. We're looking for those that are easy to work with, responsive, proactive and flexible, and invested in our success and super proud of their business, because they're the same values that we share. And because I have poured an absolute diatribe of information on you today, I just thought I'd put together a really quick checklist for you all. easy wins that you could do this week and already be in a better position for your business events outreach. So, review your response template, make sure it's customizable so that you can specifically address an RFQ. Don't just do it on have a normal quoting form. Alternatively with that as well, if you do have time to build a quoting form, build out all the information that you need in order to be able to quote, because you can send that to us and we're like, you're a ripper, here you go, and let us know and we'll fill in that in for you so that we don't miss things either. Build a proposal kit, have a free Google Drive and put everything in there that we can access, like hires, images, pricing, different tools we didn't think of, your snake oil, like skincare, whatever, like put it all in there and just have a link in there, have a photo library, have additional info, because then you can send that to us and be like, here's additional info that you can easily go back to and download it every time, and that way, if we want to custom build something, we don't have to go back to you for a description on something that we didn't originally ask you for. And we'll often say to a client, hey, you didn't ask for this, but these are other tours that this company organizes that you might like to consider because they align well to you. Create an internal handover checklist. If you're not going to be there on the day, make sure that whoever does the sale and the contract has given the information to the ops team or the people on the day. And a handover checklist, make sure nothing is missed. So, like I said, would you like fries with that? Think about what you can upsell to us. The list is only limited by your imagination, what you can sell to us. So, audit your proposals for any undisclosed or conditional costs. Make sure that any site fees, day fees, things that you need to charge to run your business properly. Have a list of them, make sure they're included and put a price point against them. Pick up the phone, if an email chain's getting really long and if you can solve it in 2 minutes, do that rather than 3 days of back and forth. Understand that business events are not walk-in tourism. Like, delegates are pre-committed. Once the program is fixed, it is fixed. There's no come back tomorrow. It's very much a one bite at the apple type opportunity to showcase who you are and what you do. Schedule a proactive check-in, just make it part of your business policy that 4 weeks before every confirmed business events, you pick up the phone and call the PCO, make sure things are on track, make sure nothing's changed. That the PCO, we value it, any PCO will just be blown away by the fact that you've just called to check in and see how things are going. And if you've worked with PCOs before and you want more information, give them a call, understand how you can work better together and what the opportunities are. If you're going to work with PCO this year and you haven't yet, schedule in a debrief for after, ask them to give you feedback. If you had an awesome time, make sure they write you a Google review or a TripAdvisor review. I think it's a really collaborative industry. Even for us as a local PCO, we work with international and national PCOs to support their delivery on the ground as well. It's a great industry. It's only made as good as the people we work with. Thank you, everybody. I hope that wasn't too much.
That's we have gone over time, but of course, if anybody does have any questions, please feel free to pop it through the chat. I think Nat brought up some amazing points in there. It's just so clear that that professionalism piece and that working together and that quick response time is just so integral. And if you do want to sit down and have chats about potentially what that database could look like to pass on to AA&P, or how it looks like to prepare yourself, even looking at those requests for proposal forms or how you would have your own forms set up. There are plenty of examples of businesses in town that have these forms live on their website. So do that little bit of research if you're looking for ways that you can put that together. And then once again, you can book in a chat with myself if you do want to go further into that space. So I've just popped up some important email addresses. I'm sure Nat would love for all of you to email her.
Yeah.
But please, if you are really looking to expand in the space, touch base with me first so we can really help you grow what you need to do in the back end, and then we connect you with the team at AA&P Events. But I don't think we've got any questions. So thank you so much. Thank you, Nat. That was so informative. And really, really valuable information. This is someone who has lived and breathed this space and has known, the do's and don'ts and what really works to get you there. Because once again, these decision makers are really who you need to work with and impress in order to convert those business events. So huge thank you, Nat. Huge
Pleasure.
thank you to everybody online. Thanks, Nadine. Thanks, Jay. And yeah, we'll send out the recordings of this and some information after. So have a great day and thank you for joining us.
Thanks for bearing with me, team. I know there was a lot of info there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Cheers, everybody.